Hello and welcome to the Comedy Slab podcast. I'm Shane O'Connor. He's Adrian Lacey, and every week before we start this podcast, he makes me titter or giggle.
I do say titter ye not in true Frankie Howard tradition, but
you might as well say, go on, titter, titter, titter away, because it's more than likely going to make me titter when you say titter ye not. Anyway, if you're new to this this podcast, we take a comedy program. And we watch it each week. We digest, dissect, and decide what are the bits we like, what are the bits we didn't like so much. We'll give it marks out of 5. At the end of the podcast, we'll tell you where you can find the programme, and we'll reveal which show is going to go onto the slab for the following week. That's more or less where we're at. It was my turn last week to choose one, and I thought I'd choose something that neither of us have seen, but is current, shall we say? I think that's probably the best way to describe it.
Courant, yes. But it's quite a risk-taking thing you did there.
I like it. I like it when we're both of us, like, because sometimes it'll almost be a recommendation, won't it, when you'll say, oh, okay, what about this? Or I'll say one, and then it's like a kind of recommendation. But when we both haven't seen it, I really enjoy it because we're both coming to it with a fresh perspective, and we're... It's, are we going to agree or we're not going to agree? I really kind of like that. It's quite interesting when we approach this. It's a genre of comedy I'm not particularly fond of. How do you describe? Is it somebody called it cringe comedy? Adrian, I saw on a review or something the other day, and I thought that's a good name for it. The stuff that Sacha Baron Cohen does. Yes,
formerly Ali G, of course. I use the phrase "laugh first, feel guilty afterwards."
Okay. Yeah. Laugh now, pay later.
Yeah, exactly, with your conscience and your sleep patterns. Only fair to point out where you can see this, or certainly in the UK, it is available on Channel 4's catch-up service, because initially it's Channel 4, it's been out on Channel 4. So All 4 is the catch-up service, which you can get in the form of an app and all kinds of streaming wonders. Is that not the case?
Yeah, a bit disappointed. We thought we might be able to get it on Amazon in the UK, but currently not at the moment from our research. I think it'll be out on DVD as well pretty soon, Adrian, but I could be wrong on that one. But yeah, currently just on All 4. Anyway, it's his latest thing. It's his, I think I'm right in saying, it's his return to series comedy. I think it's about 10 years ago was the last time he did a series comedy, because he'd been off making films and stuff. Sacha Baron Cohen's new series called Who is America? Series 1 has got 7 episodes, so of course, logically, we went straight for the last one to watch. And that's what we're reviewing on the slab. We're going to get it open this week. It's my turn to ask you, isn't it, really? Because I suggested it. First impressions?
Well, I'm rarely lost for words, as you know. I'm not quite as bad as you, where there hasn't been a pause in the conversation in living memory. But I sat there after my first viewing of this show, as you say, not seen it before at all. And I sat there speechless. I thought I was just trying to process it, just trying to work out what felt like a bit of a comedy train wreck in my head, how it happened, and was I implicated, and where was I with it? And I didn't have any answers to that for some time. I had to go through the processing app in my head.
Did you find it funny? I mean, I must admit, before we go into detail, I mean, the broad brushstroke, I found it a bit of a struggle at times.
Yeah. Not many laughs first time from my belly, certainly.
No.
But then second time I was seeing stuff that I'd missed, seeing and hearing stuff I'd missed the first time. And in spite of myself, I think would be the phrase, I laughed. And as I've said before, once you laugh, they've got you, haven't they? Any kind of moral arguments you've got against a comedy, it's completely felled by the fact that you fell for it. You laughed.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I do wonder with Sacha Baron Cohen whether some of his comedy is always the lowest common denominator, but that doesn't make it, as you say, doesn't make it any less funny. I've started doing what you do now, by the way. I'm watching it twice. I think it's really useful. I watch it once just as a gut reaction, and then I'll go back and watch it and make the notes, which is, I never used to do that. I used to watch it and make the notes, so I'd stop it and watch it and stop it and watch. So I watch it in its entirety now, and then I watch it again and make the notes as a second thing. So I think you're right. You get a different perspective on it all, don't you? Really, but he always plays bass, doesn't he? He plays to the bass of the spectrum, as it were, in terms of his. It's not what you call sophisticated comedy, is it?
Well, do you know what? We should say, by the way, we've got 3 clips lined up as we do on the slab. But before we get to the first of those, which will, of course, at least start to illustrate what we're talking about, if you haven't already seen Who Is America. I think I've done one of those rambling sentences again that I can't remember how it began. I really shouldn't put all these long subclauses in. Do you remember John Peel used to be the master of long sentences?
Do you know, actually, ironically, who I thought, and it's a sad footnote, but who I thought of when you said that, you sounded a bit like Dennis Norden, who we lost this week. If you're one of those people who thinks like you're one of those people who are like me, that was who I was putting in mind of. Go on, do you want to have another stab at it?
Well, I don't know. I thought we were going to go into Dennis Norden obit procedure. I saw we've tweeted, i.e. you tweeted on this instance on the at Comedy Slab Twitter account about that. I don't have any personal anecdotes about Dennis Norden, but I have to say I was educated by your tweet about him, because he was a writer as well as at other times performer, presenter of the show you're talking about, It'll Be All Right in the Night. But I didn't know he'd written the Peter Sellers Balham. And of course I lived very close to Balham, right on the borders, where, of course, the mayor of Balham is none other than Arthur Smith. Sorry, you can say.
I can't think who it was, but it wasn't Peter Sellers who did it originally when Dennis Norden wrote it, I think. I can't remember who the performer was when he did it. But he just fascinating career, didn't he? He started in... He was a cinema manager, wasn't he, at one stage? And I kind of thought, what a great way to start in the entertainment industry is run a cinema.
He didn't write that gag that my friend used to trot out. I'm not saying our cinema's small, but I rang up earlier to find out the times of the showing, and they said, well, what time can you make it? That could be one of his, couldn't it?
He probably could have done, yeah. Have you? The other series he wrote, of course, was Take It From Here, wasn't it?
Yes, that's what he's best known for. But, I'm not sure if it was that one, or obviously Jimmy Edwards would have had other shows. I was familiar with Jimmy Edwards, or both on TV and radio, but I didn't recognise that title of the show.
No, I mean, obviously way before our time, but I've kind of gone back and listened to that, as I've done with many a radio comedy like The Goons and Round the Horn, which is one of my particular favourites.
Yes.
I famously listened to all 7 series of Round the Horn whilst decorating at our last house, because I just put it on, with modern technology, you put it on your phone or your iPod or whatever, and just like went one after the other. Just what a fabulous bit of writing that was. But he was kind of that sort of era that, Barry Took and Barry Cryer and those kind of people, wasn't he? Who wrote some of the great sort of series of the 1950s, 60s, 70s. Probably a little bit into the 80s and maybe not. But yeah, sad loss. It upsets me when people just remember people for one thing, It'll Be All Right on the Night. And you think, he did so much, look him up. He did so much more than that. But there you go.
Right, I've remembered the beginning of my sentence.
Go on.
And then we must get onto the clip, which was to do with the fact that I whilst you say neither of us had seen the show before, Who Is America, that we're slabbing this week, I had at least been a party to a very animated discussion about, actually it turns out, a different episode of Who Is America. A couple of friends had seen it, and it was so energised, their discussion, that you just got sucked into the conversation and thought, blimey, I've got to see this show, which is why I was so pleased. It was the homework you set me last week. Had you heard any of the sort of buzz around it? Did you have any clue about where it was coming from?
No, not really. And I'd seen some crits that had been sort of at the paper and not really read them in any great depth or detail. But apparently, people are up. I'll tell you what it was. It was Sarah Palin, wasn't it, who was the one who most famously was up in arms about being got by Sacha Baron Cohen in an earlier episode of this series.
Right.
And she was doing a nut about it. She was going absolutely crazy. And I think a lot of people who appeared in it were as well. And I guess you can't help feeling like that. I remember talking to Nick Owen, you know, the once famously of Anne and Nick.
Yes.
And I worked with Nick in Birmingham, a really, really lovely guy. And I couldn't help one day asking him about his appearance on Brass Eye, I think it was, talking about heavy electricity, where it was so heavy it would fall out of sockets like molten electric soup. And I said, and he said, you know what, Shane? He said, it was a really long week. They turned up with a crew and they said, would you do it? And it was for a charity and blah, blah, blah. And he went, I just went, yeah, okay, what have I got to say? He said, I wasn't even thinking about what I was saying. I was thinking about going to Edgbaston on the Saturday and watching the cricket. And I kind of get, and that's how this kind of thing works, isn't it, really, is that you have to get people to believe
vulnerable.
Maybe to believe in it, and maybe a bit vulnerable as well. And ever since then, I've kind of seen them in a different light. But should we have a listen to a clip and give people a flavour for what kind of thing we're talking about? Do you want to introduce it?
Yeah, I was going to say this is an exception. I believe the only person it features. This clip features a Democrat or former Democrat. Oh, remind me, was he
senator? I think he was.
Senator.
I've got to be honest with you. I get really confused with American politics, and you know, the Senate and the Congress and
representatives,
local representatives, and all that. So, it's all a bit of a mishmash.
What's interesting is that he's on the opposite side from Trump. This guy, whereas Sacha Baron Cohen, in his various guises in the show, is generally baiting the alt-right. That's fair to say, isn't it? I mean, he's coming from a liberal position, even though he might be pretending to be one of them, a pro-Trump supporter. Well, he's in that guise in this clip, at least. So you'll hear him, the Sacha Baron Cohen character, quizzing this Democrat and trying to catch him out.
Do you at least admit, Congressman Frank, that Hillary Clinton was running a pedophile ring underneath the pizza?
Oh, thank you. That is
pizza restaurant right here in Washington.
No, I'm glad that you said that because.
Thank you. Will you agree to that? And I appreciate that.
No, I'm not shaking hands on that because
that's
it's
rude.
A despicable lie.
How do you respond, sir, to this proof? This is a receipt from the very same pizza parlor. Ping Pong Comment. Do you agree?
It's a receipt from Ping Pong Comment. What's the proof that it's part of a child pornography ring?
It says child, and next to it, free.
Yeah.
They were giving away children for free. That is sick. At least
they were not giving away children, sir. That meant that the children came in for free, not that the children were given away for free.
This is purchased from eBay, sir, from a seller who is 94% ratified.
If you were in the process of running a ring, you wouldn't have a printed receipt to give out as proof of your criminality. But what child
that is how stupid the Clintons are.
So the former politician Barney Frank, my prompt has told me while that was playing out, and the Sacha Baron Cohen fictional character interviewing him, known as Dr. Billy Wayne Ruddick. So I did find myself, first time through, this is before I had my notepad, I thought, oh, that's a bit unfair. What's he doing baiting a guy who's, if not on the side of the angels, at least not quite as hellish and nasty as some people on the alt-right. Did you feel that?
I probably the reverse to you, actually, because I kind of this whole the whole of comedy being left wing, I find it really quite dreary and really quite tiresome. It's like, and in America, it's even worse. I mean, in this country, I don't think it's as bad, but in America, I mean, it's just like all of the comedies about Trump, and it's really not very good. You know what I mean? It's like it's really poor comedy, and it consists of somebody painting their face orange and putting on a swept over wig, and you kind of think, God, it's so passé. It's like I kind of tire of that in a way, and it does ruin the enjoyment a little bit. I mean, it's interesting at the start, wasn't it? They started with the comparisons. You see, they have Kennedy, doing a little speech, and then Reagan talking about Mr. Gorbachev knocked down the wall or whatever, and then they showed Trump doing a really appalling impression of that New York Times journalist,
disabled journalist,
yeah, but you kind of think, like, Kennedy, really, like a serial womanizer was the best president. That's who you hold up, and then like the left wing of politics are holding up Ronald Reagan as better than Donald Trump. You kind of think everything's got a bit skewed, really. But yeah, I kind of really, it ruins it a bit for me, because I'd like to see him go after, like, you know, the scenes when they go out and they see the liberal demonstration that they were having.
Yeah.
And like, you think some of the people that I've seen interviewed on YouTube is probably the only place that you see it now. You kind of think it's a rich vein of comedy, these people. There are comedic targets on both sides of the spectrum of politics, and yet we only seem to go for one. And I don't know, you know, it's not the end of the world, but you just kind of think, oh, and what, another Trump comic sketch, really?
Yeah, it's a kind of lazy pastiche. I don't know if you know the comedian Jeff Norcott. I think he's the answer to the BBC's prayers. People not maybe from outside the UK not aware how the BBC is funded. There's a universal licence fee, and so in a sense it tries to keep everyone on board. I mean, we can debate about how successful it is, but they love Jeff Norcott because he's just about the only stand-up that I'm aware of, that they're aware of, who is pro-conservative. So
there's Andrew Lawrence. Have you heard of Andrew Lawrence?
I haven't. I will check him out.
He's a ginger guy who he reckons he was banned by the BBC because he doesn't tell jokes from a left wing perspective. So
right,
I don't know. He had a series. What if you're not like everybody else? I think it was called. Very funny. And he's done stand up in Edinburgh and that kind of stuff as well. But yeah, they are few and far between. What I'd like to see, and I don't know, because we've both got BBC backgrounds, aren't we? So I don't know if it's just because of that, because this is indoctrination about fairness and equity and and trying to play it with a straight bat, as it were. I don't know if you just whether I'm indoctrinated into that kind of belief now, that I'd like to see somebody have a go at both sides, because if you're in politics, you kind of deserve to be. You know what I mean. You deserve to be a target, whatever side of the spectrum you're on. I don't. And it's interesting. You said a phrase on the side of angels. Yeah. There's a lot of people who don't see it like that. I don't see that they were talking about Antifa in this series, weren't they? I don't see Antifa on the side of angels. They burnt a blooming university down, for goodness sake.
Right, this is the anti-fascist organisation in the States.
At Berkeley University, isn't it? They like no platform people because they don't want to. I don't know. Anyway, we're getting a bit sidetracked of it all. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's just I kind of like you. I thought it could have been broader. I think was the thing really. With it all, but I got to say that whole section with Billy Wayne Ruddock and he tried to explain the grab them by the pussy, tape. I thought was great. I thought that was really funny. Actually, I really loved that. Yes,
essentially, Dr. Billy Wayne Ruddock's accusation is that it's been tampered with. The tape that we've heard on the news.
They were actually talking about how this guy was asking Donald Trump how he could get rid of the rats. And then Donald Trump had said, grab them. He said, oh, you should grab them. He said, I was thinking about buying a cat. He said, should I buy a cat to and he said, yeah, buy the pussy. And they'd put that together, and that's how that tape would come.
I did laugh as a sound engineer. I was trying to think it through in my head, and yeah, that would be possible, certainly.
There is something childish in that just really appeals to me, and I don't know,
But then I found myself thinking, this is how childish I am. Does America refer to cats as pussies?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, because it's Mrs. Slocum again from Are You Being Served?
Yeah, yes. There's only so far we'll go down that particular alley, if I may use that term.
But it was the other the bit where he said, he got proof that there was a paedophile ring because he got a receipt from a pizza place that said that children -free, and he said they were giving away free children at this restaurant. And this, I mean, in fairness to the guy, I mean, you kind of think, I don't think I'd have taken it in that such a serious note, would you? But I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I thought. You see, I thought the Democrats sort of batted everything away very successfully, but that again plays to. You might think Sacha Baron Cohen's, attacking everything from the left, so he's going to make a Democrat at least look quite good.
Yeah.
What are you saying, that gag wasn't strong enough or believable enough?
Well, it was. I mean, it's interesting when he does it with a guy who's a Democrat. He has more jokes in there, whereas he's not making a fool out of the Democrat. He's actually, I mean, the guy didn't
going
come
soft
off,
on him. You could say.
Yeah. Excuse me. The guy didn't come off looking stupid, did he? No. I mean, if you move to the next section, it was kind of in 3 sections, wasn't it? Where there was that sketch at first, and then we moved on to this Lieutenant Aaron Morad. He's an Israeli soldier, I think, isn't he?
Or anti-terrorist, former Mossad, I think. That's fictional character. Yeah.
Yeah, and we moved into that section where he got 3 guys who I'm guessing, I wasn't really clear where they were from. I'm guessing they were kind of. He showed stuff that they put on social media, so I don't know whether he found them through there and said to them, "Would you like to come and?" We're going to try and tackle the left wing of politics, and would you like to volunteer? And he got these 3 guys, hadn't he, volunteered to?
Yes.
And again, I love that, but he made fun of them, didn't he? Whereas with the senator, he wasn't. I mean, that bit where he said how to compliment like a liberal. I was crying, and these guys seriously saying to each other, "I love your legs."
Yeah.
You've got the nicest chest I've seen ever.
Yes, implication being, of course, if you come from the right, and maybe a harder right than the Democrat was left, that you can't say anything nice about a fellow male. But they seem to prove the point, though, didn't they?
I mean, that was the thing. It was just like...
they look so awkward doing it, though.
Yeah, whatever your politics, where's your humanity gone? I just thought it was... It's quite eye-opening, wasn't it? The whole thing. You do come away and think, "Wow, is that how people are then?" Really?
Did you pick up? I confess I missed it the first time. I can't have been paying enough attention. But when you talk about these 3 guys he selected, because he wants to choose one of them to come with him on a mission as an undercover, supposed dressing up as a lesbian. What does a lesbian look like exactly? But did you get the passing gag that all 3 of these gents were particularly brave for anonymously attacking? And then he listed, they'd had a go at women in burqas and blah blah blah. But I just missed that they're very brave for anonymously attacking these people, and that is the point, isn't it?
I saw the bit you're referring to, but I didn't pick up on that. I didn't pick up on the gag, the way they'd written it. Yeah, I mean that was you do kind of spend a lot of time wondering where these guys came from. Where he found people like this who were obviously quite willing to. Well, I mean, it unfolds, doesn't it? This section as well as to see just how willing and how far they are willing to go, which is
yes. Well, it's like that old social experiment, and I've forgotten. You may know the term. I think it's the twin names of the researchers from famously pretending to give electric shocks to people. You've heard about this experiment? It's sort of in the 1950s.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say the Stanford experiment, which was the prison, wasn't it? Have you remember that one?
I think that is the one. I mean, isn't it? Where if you lean on someone who at least defers to you, then you'd be surprised how far you can push them. We are very deferential creatures. Yeah.
Sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah, the old defence.
Yeah.
Shall we hear in that context the next clip, or did you want to say something more?
No, I was just going to say, and it got my least favourite part as well, where they're attacking the Donald Trump doll.
I'm not allowed to laugh at this point then if it upsets
Well, no,
me.
if you thought it was... No, it didn't upset me. I just kind of thought, it's just... I felt that was the point at which I felt that it was going on a bit too long. I'd have liked to have seen 4 sketches in the whole show. Or I'd have liked to see more of O.J. Simpson maybe in the last section, because maybe they didn't have enough of that, I don't know. But Yeah, I kind of felt it was a bit laboured. The stuff it was in the gym, wasn't it, where he was supposed to be training them?
Yeah.
And they ended up. I mean, they ended up attacking him with sex toys, and I just kind of thought, is this? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, that was for me. That was just a bit. It was a bit childish and a bit rubbish. But yeah, the next clip, and this is where I thought it started to get really clever again. Is where they go. He's just about to go out into the field with. He chooses one, doesn't he?
Yes.
He chooses one of the guys, and says. Okay, you're going to be the one that comes with me to go on this special undercover mission, as you mentioned. And this is the point where they're sat in a hotel room and he's briefing the guy.
We have received new intel. There is a radical lesbian cell from New York. They have developed a special type of diaper. The diaper have hormone in it. When the baby wears this diaper, it will turn the baby into a transgender. The local Berkeley Antifa will mass produce this diaper and put it into every Republican store.
That's genocide.
The local Berkeley Antifa cell are expecting to meet these two radical lesbians. Nobody is going to come here. You know why?
Why?
Because they missed their flight somehow.
Okay. That's good. That's good. That's good.
And he goes on. goes. Do you know, it was at that point, and I thought, you know, the prosthetics that they use, because he's quite heavily made up. Because apparently, I was reading some stuff that he keeps getting recognised when he's trying to do these things.
Right, because of course that's death to any performer in this situation, isn't it?
Yeah, they were saying there was one instance where he went in to try and do something. I think he walked into a bar, and a guy immediately said, "You're Borat." And as soon as he did, he just turned on his heels and just walked straight back out again because, like you say, it's finished then, isn't it? It's
But that can also be death to several weeks' work and careful preparation and research and all of that.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. I think it's you underestimate how much work goes into this. It's because it's like in the room, in the moment, at the time, isn't it? I suppose that you're seeing. But yeah, I mean, again, you know, it's. He's got some good concepts and good ideas. I mean, why shouldn't he? I mean, he's, you know, Ali G, the dictator. I mean, Borat. I mean, all the things that he's you know, Bruno, not so good, all right, but all the stuff that he's done. You know, he's well versed in this now, isn't he? This kind of character where he baits other people.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I thought that the whole section of the two going off with their pink hats on and telling people that they're lesbians, and. We see, this is where I thought, actually, when you look at people on, you know, the left of politics, they're just as funny, because he said to somebody, he said, "Oh, we're lesbians," and the woman said, I know. I didn't mean to be judgy."
I love that word, judgy.
And you just kind of think, what? You can't say anything there, can you? You know, for fear of upsetting people, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, this whole scene where they go out and again, you know, it kind of picked up for me, that particular section. Some great stuff at the end as well. Did you like you know, you kind of find that the Sacha Baron Cohen character's falling for this guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
He said, "Well, I'd leave my wife for you."
Yeah. Well, but loads of things he says in his various guises can be interpreted more than one way, which is why he gets away with it, because the guy wasn't necessarily thinking, this guy is leaving his wife for me, therefore he must be going gay or whatever. It could still just mean, I'm so committed to this project, I want to do more sort of anti-far type things with you.
Yeah, and the guy was trying to be polite, wasn't he? He's going, it's a very confusing idea for me. I'd have to go away and think about it. He's thinking
but it's the fact he didn't say no outright. That's a ridiculous thing.
Yeah, and because he says to him at the end, doesn't he? He said it's great to work with him. He said, kiss or no? And it's just, no. So okay, shake hands. The amazing part that we alluded to was the fact that he made him believe. They attached things to people's backs, weren't they? They were attaching people's backs. And then got an iPad Air and made him believe that he said, if you just put your two fingers on that icon there, that'll blow the person up. And he kind of made him believe, and as you say, he did it, didn't he?
Yes, but he did, and this is interesting. It stayed with me. The guy who'd done it in his beautiful pink hat, because he's a lesbian, and all lesbians obviously wear pink hats, woolen hats at that. He said after he'd supposedly, in quotes, killed this person, I feel a bit queasy now. Can we go for a walk?
Yeah.
But he did. That made me think. Shoot me down in flames if that's not an inappropriate image. But there are guys, I believe, in the RAF who are. I'm not saying there's absolute moral equivalence here, but they are killing people by drones and assisting US Air Force personnel. And then going home to their families in the evening, and they're in America, remotely killing people in the Middle East. Unless I've been scammed, that I've heard that on serious news shows.
No, I think you're absolutely right with that.
And of course, they are distanced from the killing. But I wonder how much you can actually go home and play with the kids and really forget that.
You see, what I thought was interesting was at that stage, it kind of turned it for me. It was like these were figures of fun. And then at that point, I kind of felt sorry for that guy, and because he realised the enormity of what he'd done, and as you say, he said, "I've never done anything like that before." He said, and he was in the moment. He kind of went, I'll kind of blow him up. You've only got to just press that icon there, sort of thing. So I don't know, and it's like you kind of walk away from that thinking, oh, how awful for him, but then he's just done that to somebody, or he thinks he has.
Yes.
Did you get that sense that because it was split into three sections with the senator at the start and with this security character in the middle, and then O.J. Simpson, which we'll talk about in a minute, O.J. Simpson at the end.
Yeah.
It wasn't balanced. I'd like to see, like I say, either a fourth one or a balancing. Did you get that sense, Adrian, at all, or not?
No. And the funny thing is, I didn't really see it as a 3-act thing, or even I've said this before about other shows, not even seeing them as sketch shows. It's an interesting hybrid, this kind of thing, anyway, isn't it? It's not mockumentary, it's not sitcom. That didn't worry me overly, because I think the middle section with them purporting to be lesbians, that was the greatest chunk, wasn't it, in terms of time? I didn't look at the timer, but I
think so, yeah. I mean, I just felt that bit in the gym where there was the three of them. I just like to say that kind of dragged out a bit for me, really. The highlight, though, I've got to be was O.J. Simpson, and I think there's always a kind of it's a different nuance, isn't it, when it's somebody famous or somebody that you really know. Now, the senator guy in the UK, we didn't really know him, so it didn't kind of resonate in that sort of way. The three guys in the middle bit, as I say, they weren't anybody famous. And then, of course, you got the O.J. Simpson. I'd like to see more of the O.J. Simpson stuff at the end. Is it Gio Monaldo is his character? He's Sacha Baron Cohen's character that he plays, this Italian guy. And I read somewhere that his intention was he was trying to get O.J. Simpson to admit that he killed was it the Browns?
Yes, I've forgotten the name. I saw that great long documentary about it, but yeah. That was never going to happen.
Remember the perpetrator, you never remember the victim. It's always the way, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I apologise.
Wasn't it Nicole and?
Nicole certainly rings a bell. Yeah,
Nicole. Yeah, Nicole. They were I think they were called Brown, weren't they? The Browns.
But that was never going to happen, was it? He was never going to get the smoking gun, as it were.
No.
But he made a valiant effort.
He got some great lines out of it as well, didn't he? Which I thought was, there was some. He got some good ideas in his head about how he was going to try and tease this out, sort of thing, and he was trying to explain to his girlfriend who O.J. Simpson was.
Yes, and it meant nothing to her until he did a kind of mock.
The man stabbing.
Cutting. Yeah.
Yeah, and she, O.J. Simpson. She remembered exactly who he was then. We've got a clip actually of this. Do you want to? Should we whiz the clip into the OJ?
Yeah, let's go into it. So we'll hear this Italian character who is yet again the multi-personality disorder, otherwise known as Sacha Baron Cohen. So yes, our Italian fictional character is accusing OJ of getting away with it.
Hey, I didn't get away with nothing.
Yeah, I didn't get away with anything with my wife either. She committed suicide.
Look out, stop.
She got depressed and she put herself into a bag full of rocks and then managed to drag herself into the sea. It was not
You weren't charged, so good for you.
Me and you, we got something in common. We both, how you say, lady killers. You know, it's not what it sounds like. In Italian, it translates to somebody who murders women.
No, I ain't killed nobody.
Oh, I didn't either. I didn't either. What I hate about the press is you make her want a tiny little slip, and that's all they remember you for.
Yeah.
You're not the OJ the touchdown. You're not the OJ the movie star.
Yeah.
You kill two silly people, and suddenly you're OJ the murderer.
Stop. Stop.
You wanna have some cheese?
No, I'm fine.
You wanna have some cheese? Should I hide the knives? Hide the knives. OJ is in the town.
Hide the knives. Hide the knives. Hide. He's doing the Italian with it. Hide the knives. He's like doing his old kind of Norman Wisdom Italian impression, wasn't he? I want to create.
But this is the really uncomfortable. You know, if you laugh at all, back to my phrase earlier, laugh first, feel guilty afterwards. I don't think I managed to laugh at O.J. Simpson, but I was fascinated by this again, a new or newish hybrid on me. I mean, it went as dark as it could go, given what we certainly believe we know about O.J. Simpson. Wasn't that a squirming moment for you?
No, I don't know. Not so much squirming. I was kind of almost on the edge of the seat, thinking, is he gonna say anything? What is he gonna say? You know, how is this? Because I got more of the sense, and this is what I was saying to you earlier about I couldn't understand what people had been. You know, the three guys in the middle section. I kind of all through that I was thinking, what had they been told they were going to do? What was they told all about? What had the senator at the start? What had he been told about what he was going to do? And because the cameras were there and they were out in the open, the O.J. Simpson stuff, I got the impression that they were hidden cameras, and it felt like a very different vibe to me.
Oh, I thought he could see the cameras, but
maybe I'm wrong. I mean,
I could be wrong, because they weren't handheld, which it'd be hard to hide handheld, or harder perhaps.
Yeah.
Whereas it was handheld in the other situations, I believe. Yeah, wow. This is right at the dark edge of, well, it comes back to the question you were asking me of Sarah Kendall last week. Is it comedy when it gets that close? But he's on a mission, isn't he, Sacha Baron Cohen? Whether or not you're with him, there's much... I mean, he's not just there to entertain, I don't think.
I always get the sense of him that he doesn't really have boundaries. He doesn't really care what people think of him, whether he's ostracised by the entertainment industry or politics or anything. I don't really feel that he gives a stuff. You know what I mean? I don't. Do you ever? I always thought that with Ali G. I never really got the impression that he cared what people thought of him. You know, I mean, you wouldn't wear that bright green mankini if you cared what people thought of you, would you? Do you know what I mean? I always get that impression, and no different with the OJ stuff. You know, he doesn't really care. I watched an interview with him on was it Jonathan Ross? I think interviewed Sacha Baron Cohen. It's quite rare that he does interviews, and he was saying about how he doesn't really fit in Hollywood.
You can say that again.
And he was saying, oh, and I can't think of who the celebrity was. He was saying about a celebrity. And, oh, God, I can't think who it was. Let's say it was Tom Cruise. It wasn't Tom Cruise. Let's say it was Tom Cruise. He said he was at a party, and he was saying about Tom Cruise was saying to her, this celebrity was saying to him, you know, I don't really date anymore. I don't have much luck with women. He said, and this woman walked past and like kind of smiled at him, and he smiled back, and he went... He said, Sacha Baron Cohen said, I said to him, what about her? She looks hot. She looks well up for it. And he went, "That's my daughter." And he said, and he said, "And I never bother going to, I don't go out anymore." I just thought, he has his own little world, doesn't he, Sacha Baron Cohen? I mean, because he's a haberdasher's boy, isn't he? He's a haberdasher's.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I was brought up not too far from there, but obviously on the other side of the tracks. But I went to primary school with a guy who it was departing the ways, and you know, arguably I was robbed, but I went up to the local Bash Street Kids Comprehensive, and my best mate, who they wouldn't separate us for the whole 4 years of the primary school. We were that close.
He went to Dashers.
He went to Dashers, and doubtless is earning phone numbers, and you put zeros on what I'm earning or failing to earn.
Was that a Jewish reference when you said the parting of the ways? Was that?
Are you accusing me of anti-Semitism?
Parts of the waves or the parting of the waves? I couldn't understand.
Whale waves. Yeah, I'm not quite.
Interestingly enough, on the credits as well, you know, I'm a bit sad and geeky and kind of look some people up. Dan Mazza, who's one of the executive producers on this show, he's also an ex-Dashers boy as well.
Possibly
an old school
mate.
friend.
Yeah,
it's the old boy network, isn't it? Quite clear. And interestingly, a lot of the people that he worked with, he's worked on major projects with before. Anthony Hines, who was one of the exec producers, worked on Borat, Brothers Grimsby and Ali G. Todd Schulman worked on Borat and The Dictator, and the list goes on. He surrounds himself, by the look of it, with people that he's worked with previously and enjoys working with, which, you know, why wouldn't you? Why shouldn't you?
Again, I think that's just I observe it in showbiz, but it's probably in all industries where people have the power to choose who they work with. They tend to create sort of ersatz families around them, don't they?
Yeah.
Woody Allen, worked with the same producer for Yonks.
Yeah.
Going back to the 60s even.
Here's a question for you then. I think we've asked this of each other before, but would you, on the strength of watching episode 7...
Would I leave my wife for you? Oh, no, sorry. That's another show.
Could I just have a little kiss? Would that be
hold hands, maybe.
Would you watch the other 6 on the strength of 7? Would you go back? Would you? I mean, would you watch? I'm not sure. Would I probably watch 1 or 2? I'm not sure I'd watch all of it.
I've got to finish watching episode 3 because it is that episode which my friends were animatedly talking about in my hearing, and that thing about being excluded from a conversation by virtue of the fact you just haven't done whatever they've done.
Yeah.
I was the sticky out sore thumb person not having seen it, and if it's anything as bizarre as they were describing in their breathless way, it has to be seen. You know me, I can never find time to watch all these shows. So with me, that's not the test. But would I seek out another show is possibly a good test, because I don't think I've completed a whole series of any series for some time now.
Do you know what it made me do? And that's a really weird thing as well. Is before I watched it, and like to kind of warm up, I watched some Ali G.
I was thinking about him. I didn't get round to watching it. And how did it stand up the test of time?
Loved it, really loved it. I mean, I wasn't, an overly enthusiastic fan previously, but I kind of think, I could do more of this. I find Ali G's less cringy than some of the stuff Borat does, for example. I'm thinking the naked wrestling with his manager in the hotel room is one of the things that you think I never really want to see that again.
I never did see it, and I don't want to see it.
No, I'll send you a clip. I forgot to mention. Did you see who the consulting producer was on the show?
Was that the Sarah Palin unintentionally? Oh no, she was the publicist. She got
the credit
there.
Funny, wasn't it? Yeah, unintentional publicity by Sarah Palin. No, Peter Bainham. Did you remember Peter Bainham from Alan Partridge?
Was he one of the writers?
He was, but he also appeared in it. He was the guy who had do you remember the guy who had the voice box? He used to speak in Dr. No vocal cords, I think Alan Partridge called it. It was in the first series of Alan Partridge where they threw a cow on him when he was on the. He was
got a cow on me. Yeah,
that's it. He was in that episode, Peter Bainham.
Wow.
And he'd worked with Partridge. He's done Brass Eye. He's worked with Lee and Herring actually in their earlier days as well.
So have I, but not on the content side. But enough name dropping from me. We must get to a star rating each, mustn't we? Or just before that, I should say this is interesting. I mean, you mentioned Showtime earlier, so we need to credit them obviously as the ultimate people who put the money up for this show. But did you know, you probably do, being a self-confessed nerd on these things, they are a division of CBS, and you can't imagine a more sort of solid American pillar of society than CBS in the broadcast world.
Well, we were chatting just before we started recording. I think they're trying to make it like HBO, I think.
You were telling me Showtime is a channel in the States.
It's a channel in the States. I think you can get it on Amazon Prime in the US as well. But it's Showtime TV is owned by CBS. But I think they're trying to make it like HBO is for AT&T Warner. He's got a huge reputation in the industry. Made some groundbreaking stuff, and I think maybe that's where they're funneling all this through. What I did laugh at, I don't know if you noticed this. Did you see the production company that makes this, Spellthorne Community Television?
No, that's a front organisation, I'm guessing.
It's actually Sacha Baron Cohen's production company.
Right.
And Spellthorne is a local authority area in London that encapsulates Staines. Ali G. Staines massive.
Oh, right, yes.
And if you go onto the Spellthorne Community Television website, at the bottom, there's an advert for Staines taxis. Better for miles.
Oh, wonderful tagline. How do they think of that?
This is like a completely made up company. You think, how has he got the time to do that? This guy's making feature films in Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of time maybe while he's in the chair with the prosthetics going on, he's just scribbling away.
Or telling somebody else to scribble away or something.
Well, exactly,
like that,
yes, his underling.
I thought that was cool. Spellthorne Community Television. Because that's where he started, wasn't it? Ali G started on a community channel really low budget community channel in Staines.
Well, I saw something about. Does that come under? Because that's neighbouring Windsor, isn't it? The Windsor being the posh end of that part of the world. He was on. It must have been that channel with the lovely Carol Kirkwood, who I happen to know to at least say hello to. The weather star.
Yeah. It's like a community channel, wasn't it? Whatever they used to call them.
Gosh, what a gentle start, shall we say, and ending up in Hollywood. That's quite a career trajectory. Yeah. Anyway, our star ratings. Am I allowed to ask you to go first? Because, of course, it's politeness on my part.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I'll dispatch this one quickly. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. And I'll give it a 3 out of 5 because... I enjoyed it. I like Sacha Baron Cohen. I like his work. All right, it's kind of more of the same. I know it's a return after 10 years, but it's kind of more of the same. And I just felt it could have benefited from better editing, more judicious editing, sharpening up. I think really was the thing for me, and maybe taking a broader spectrum and not making a political stance out of it would have helped as well. But 3 out of 5, I give it.
Right. I'm going to go for a tad more, but only a tad, 3.5 out of 5. Just a gut feeling. Can't analyse it too much. But
sometimes they're the best, aren't they? Just the gut feeling.
Yeah. So pretty much what some of what you said. I don't want to dissect my dissection too much, but... Yeah, there is some good stuff in there. I just like the fact he's around and on the scene. We need these brave people out there, I think, on the frontier. But I partly gave it a quite a reasonable mark because it made me uncomfortable and it made me think. I think that's good. So it woke me up a bit, and I think that's a good thing for comedy to do.
All right, Sacha Baron Cohen's Who is America gets 6.5 out of 10. Still respectable. It's the lowest, I think, though, isn't it, that we've had so far, you think?
I think so, assuming we can trust your maths. But I actually think you got it right first time, which has got to be a
Cheeky
first.
monkey. Cheeky monkey. Come on then, homework.
Right. Now, you might think I'm being a bit lazy with this one, but I have my reasons. We've gone from TV to radio to TV, and I'm going to take us back to radio, and I'm going to take us, but with more warning this time, to a one-man show. We had a one-woman show on the radio we were dissecting last week. Is this the antimatter Sarah Kendall? I don't know. Or is it more of the same? It's Rob Newman, who will be known to you and to people going way back, if you're aware of the Mary Whitehouse experience.
Or Badila Newman.
Badila Newman. And he became a writer for a while, or I guess once a writer, always a writer. But he's got a current series that's still going out on BBC Radio 4, and hence available on iPlayer radio app and also on this new thing, BBC Sounds, if you're aware of that. I'm flanneling because I'm trying to decide on the episode to give you. I think I'm going to give you, let me think, sorry, caller. I'm going to give you next week's. Hasn't even gone out yet, but that gives us the maximum amount of time, and for anyone listening, chasing it up. So it will be going out, I think it's a Wednesday, but anyway, you can find it easily enough on listing. So Rob Newman, subtitle is Total Eclipse of Descartes. Get the... You're laughing already, see? Yeah. So it will be episode 3, subtitle, or the episode title is The Music of the Chromosomes. But the warning here is that I failed to give you with Sarah Kendall. It's... Well, you might find yourself asking again, as with Sarah, is this comedy? Certainly there's laughs in there, but that was true of her show. It's laughter that makes you think again. So... I would class it as comedy. It's made by the comedy department, but it's not stand-up jokes. So I'm just warning you in advance because I got told off last time for not warning you.
If it's any consolation, as I said to you in the episode, I really enjoyed Sarah Kendall. I thought it was a real eye-opener, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Trying to find stuff that ordinarily we might not find. I'm fascinated because I don't really recall Rob Newman, what he sounds like or anything like that. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. That'd be good. Okay, that's next week's.
Lovely stuff. Well, we wrap up there with just a mention for social medias. We're on all kinds of platforms, Twitter and Facebook. Platforms. Remind me of you. That was wrong on at least 2 levels. One of them is legal and the other one is musical aptitude.
I've got 3 here.
Anyway, and we're all over the place. Well, we are quite literally all over the place, but you'll find us on wherever you've currently found us, iPlayer, whatever it is, Stitcher, Spreaker, YouTube, etc., etc.
And I have to say, I've noticed that these, as we go through, we're on episode 11 now of the Comedy Slab podcast, and they're getting longer as time goes on. So eventually, we'll get to the point where we won't actually have to say, so until next time, because we'll just go, right, let's move on to the next program now.
It's next week now.
Yeah, it's next week already. Hey,
but
it's
before
next week
already. Let's leave it there with the damage limitation, and hope you'll join us for next week.
Ta-ta.